I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
The Summer Project, a block of time dedicated to anything I want, literally anything, with no lectures or other assignments to distract my attention. But what to do? It was a fair amount of time. I surely could do something really interesting. It wasn't like the Global Challenge, where the group spent weeks and weeks arguing over what to do. It was just me, a team of one. So surely making decisions should have been easy. So why was it that figuring out exactly what to do seemed to be a bit of a problem for me? I knew that whatever I worked on would have to be fun. I needed to feel I'd enjoy working on it every day. So I thought I'd compose a song. Then make a music video to go with it. Now that would be fun. I thought I love editing music and film, and I could do something really special with all that time and no other assignments. But really, where was the innovation in that? It needed to be more than just an audio-visual experience. It needed some tech. And then it hit me. I'd been meaning to investigate the technology behind Chirp, after discovering the app while working on ideas for MakeyLab.
You've heard of tweeting. Patrick Burgle hopes you'll hear much more chirping in the future. His company, Animal Systems, has just released an app for the iPhone called Chirp, which allows people to send pictures through short bursts of sound.
The more you can make technology feel like it's part of the intuitively understood world, the naturally comprehended world, the more that people will, I think, want to use it and make it part of their lives.
Animal Systems is a spin-out of the Computer Science Department at University College London. Both UCL Business and the Innovations Fund at Imperial College are investors. Jones says Chirp has been developed as an alternative to Bluetooth technology. One of the advantages, he says, is that once Chirp is installed on a device, there's no need to pair it with other devices before sending data.
So how about I chirp a picture of you?
Sure.
Then we hit OK. And now we have the picture on this phone. And all we do is hit the big yellow button.
And there I am.
And there you are.
Wow.
So what just happened there was that that picture was uploaded to the cloud storage system that we've developed and encoded as a tiny little piece of audio, which then represents that picture uniquely.
Right now, the app is only available for the iPhone and iPad, but an Android app is also in the works. Animal Systems says ultimately data can be sent from anything that makes a sound, including radio, TV, and PA systems.
Well, we've got some fairly big goals. We really would like Chirp to become a form of ubiquitous sonic middleware that was installed on many different kinds of devices and was just one of the sharing options. We see Chirp as a viable part of the mix for the so-called Internet of Things, or the kind of ubiquitous computing future where lots of different devices are connected in lots of different ways.
The company were working on an app for Android at the time, and they talked about its ability for developers to create third-party apps for sharing content en masse, but no API has been released as yet. I did ask them about it, and they replied. So I thought perhaps I could incorporate chirps into the song I want to write and deliver additional content to anyone watching the music video. I mean, why aren't musicians doing this already? They could push exclusive content to mass audiences at gigs, on radio and on TV. Surely it'd be good for the people at Chirp, as it would promote their app. But was there actually any research value in all this? I'd been reading about another technology that had been developed over in the States called Sonic Notify. Similar to Chirp, it uses sound to transmit short codes to data. The big difference with this platform is that the short codes are transmitted in the 19 to 21 kilohertz range, which renders them inaudible to the human ear. While this got me very excited, I feel that delivering hidden content to users with inaudible sound opens up a whole world of new opportunities. I'm thinking how nice it would be to introduce a new dimension of discoverable content that could transform tours of historic sites, nature trails, events. Going one step further, you could mix the inaudible short codes with ambient context-relevant sounds that could entice a user to see if there's any hidden content to be discovered. This was definitely what I wanted to do for my summer project. I designed the graphics for the app in Photoshop, including an app icon, a launch image, and a listening indicator, which would flash when picking up an audio shortcode. With only basic iOS programming skills, it took me a while to get to grips with the Sonic Notify SDK. However, with perseverance, I was able to build a basic listener app, which could listen for audio shortcodes and display the received content. Sonic Studio runs in an internet browser as a software-as-a-service platform and has a clean interface which is easy to navigate. Its content management system makes it easy to link media files and web links to specific shortcodes. I was working with a demo license, which meant I only had access to one channel. Having access to a single shortcode would hardly be ideal for conducting an experiment with multiple sound sources. Rather than paying the whopping $5,000 for a month's full license, I turned to LinkedIn and I contacted Sonic Notify's founder, Alex Bell. After hearing about the proposed research, he kindly gave me 10 shortcodes for free. I chose Lancaster City Museum as the venue for the experiment and approached the manager to tell her about my proposed research. She was happy to allow me to go ahead. I decided that thanking the participants with a cup of coffee would be a nice touch, so I approached the owner of a nearby cafe, who agreed to let participants redeem a voucher on the day and receive a free coffee. I purchased the necessary equipment, which was 5 sets of MP3 players and speakers. The themed sounds for the selected exhibits were designed and produced in Logic before being mixed with the inaudible shortcodes and loaded onto separate MP3 players. The content to which the shortcodes would link were designed to provide extra information about the selected exhibits through different forms of media. A video was prepared for the Roman gallery area.
city. I am here today as your emperor. I have come to the northern part of my empire to see for myself the peace of Rome. I am Imperator! I am the glory that is Rome!
A sound clip of a podcast was chosen for a munitions factory display.
Evelyn Ellershaw grew up in Lancaster and remembered the huge explosion there at White Lund National Filling Factory in October 1917.
The night that it blew up, at first we couldn't make out what all these big bangs were going, and then we saw the sky was all lit up, and we thought, well, it must be bombs. But anyway, We soon got to know that it was the factory that was going up, and of course it was worse than any bonfire night. A terrible big bang. Well, my father being a bus driver, he decided that he thought he'd better go, he might be useful. He got down as far as Penny Street Bridge and met a policeman. He said, we're not allowing anybody into town. So he sent him back home again, told him to get his family and get up onto the moors, which of course Dad did. And we went right up onto the moors. You've seen the trails of evacuees leaving these, it was just like that all the way up the road. And they told us to leave the doors and windows wide open. But Mother said, no, not on your life, I'm not leaving my doors wide open. And she didn't. But of course we were up on the hill, we were a long way away, and the house was still all right when we came back.
A relevant web page was found to extend the information available at the medieval market display. And another web page found for the King's Own Royal Regiment area of the museum. A voucher was designed for the final piece of discoverable content. The content was then linked with the appropriate shortcodes in the online CMS, and the settings for how they would display on the app were configured. Testing was carried out to ensure that the correct items were linked to the themed sounds. The final item to prepare was the questionnaire. I'd started off with 20 questions, but my supervisor, Paul, thought it was too lengthy and helped me reduce it down to 10. With the app functioning well and the content in place, it was time to advertise the experiment to hopefully attract some participants. I emailed the flyer to all my colleagues at Highwire, and I set up a Facebook event page to tell all the other people I know in Lancaster. I was really nervous at this point. I just told the world about what I was doing. What if it all went wrong? 10 people took part over the course of the day. 3 people who I'd invited and 7 genuine visitors who I'd enlisted upon entry. Each participant was given an iPhone, was shown how to use the app, and were told that if they heard any interesting sounds, they could launch the app to discover some hidden content.
As the First World War intensified, each belligerent nation found that more and more armaments were needed for its fighting forces. On the home fronts, workers were recruited for the growing number of munitions factories.
We got a great thing here.
As each participant returned to the foyer, they were asked to complete a brief questionnaire. I got some really positive feedback from the participants, with 100% of them enjoying the experience and 90% feeling that their visit had been directly enhanced because of the themed sounds and the hidden content. You can read all about the results in the research paper. The museum staff gave some really good feedback as well, saying they could see the concept working well as a permanent feature. One staff member, a recent history graduate, offered to help with ideas for linked content in future studies. I thoroughly enjoyed carrying out the experiment. It was satisfying to see all my work come together at last, and to see people use the app and enjoy the content. With regards to stakeholder engagement, the museum staff had no involvement in the decisions that were made in the design of the experiment. They were very welcoming and really just let me get on with it. I was surprised actually that the manager didn't ask for an overview, although I chose to email her one anyway. Apart from keeping my supervisor up to speed with what was happening and asking for advice when I needed it, the only other stakeholder was myself. I needed to ensure I was making the right decisions for the project, if it were to be a success. The only real problem I encountered when going live with it was that the 3G network was slow at times, so the content was taking a long time to load. It was fine first thing in the morning, and I had tested it in each prospective location before deciding on that venue, but it seemed to worsen over the course of the day. I also had some compatibility issues with the app on the iPhone 5C that Paul had lent me for the experiment. This was because the app elements had been designed for and tested on my older iPhone 3GS, which has a smaller resolution and also isn't running on the latest version of the operating system. The app still functioned on the 5C, apart from the reset function didn't work, and some of the content had white space around it. This issue was an oversight on my part, and something that I'll need to be more rigorous with when developing apps in the future. Luckily, it was a slow day at the museum, so there was only one instance when both phones were needed at the same time. I was able to issue participants with the fully functioning app at all other times. As a whole, I think it was a worthwhile project, and I'm happy with the research paper that came out of it. Ideally, I'd want to develop my own system for transmitting data with sound, due to the confines of using the existing proprietary systems. The experiment threw up a lot of unanswered questions, so I feel there's real scope for further work.